Yeah. Well, that was just me mucking about, changing a few parameters from a preset of the Casio CZ-1, and today I want to talk about how to program Casio CZ Series as a whole. And I've got a CZ-1 here, but I started with a CZ-101 back in 1985. I've also still got a CZ-3000 that's broken, and they're all basically the same architecture, except in my humble opinion CZ-1's the best one of the lot. Anyway, I'm going to assume in this tutorial that you know the basics, that is what an envelope is: attack, decay, sustain and release. If you don't, then please refer to my Roland SH-101 programming tutorial mini-series, where I go into the ADSR in detail. But what you might find with the Casio CZ series is that if you've got any familiarity at all with analog synthesis, then you'll instantly be at home. I shall now explain. Now, for you good people, I have scoured my own archives, and I have found a few articles from the period, that'll be early 1985, Electronics and Music Maker, where they were previewing this synth for the first time. Here is the CZ-101. My first ever polysynth, although if you wanted it to sound good at that point, you basically only got 4 notes. Whereas with the CZ-1, CZ-3000, CZ-5000, you'll have 8 notes, and that's with it stacked with 2 oscillators. But essentially, the layout is the same. The only difference is that you are mixing and working together, stacking if you like, a technique called Phase Distortion, which works off of basic waveforms. You apply the distortion by emphasizing or decreasing an envelope and you get different sounds. So what basic waveforms do you get with the CZ series? Well, if we just zoom in here, these are the basic 8 waveforms. You've got a sawtooth as number 1, a square wave, pulse, double sine, saw pulse number 5, and then, well, they're mucked about with. They're resonance, they call them resonance envelopes, but basically they're those 5, but they've played with them a bit. They describe each basic waveform running from left to right as sawtooth, a bright timbre suited for strings and brass; square, a simple timbre suited for woodwinds such as clarinet and oboe; pulse, a sharp timbre for funky sounds; double sine, a shrill bright timbre; saw pulse, a brassy metallic timbre; and then resonance 1, 2, 3 is described the same as a funky timbre with characteristics depending on the wave envelope setting. Well, that's true of all of them, as I shall explain to you in a minute. So you build from them, but what they've done rather nicely is set up the synth akin to an analog synth. And if I now pan round here and zoom out slightly, what you've got here is, I think you can just about read it, is DCO1 and DCO2, digital controlled oscillator 1 and 2. So it's 2 oscillator synth, then DCW, which is effectively acts like a filter, not quite the same but effectively the same, and then the DCA, which is the amplifier at the end, where you use your traditional, they've all got ADSRs, well in fact they've got 8-step envelopes on them, but you use your traditional envelope to shape the on-offness, if you like, of the sound. It goes much deeper than that though, because you also get to apply how you want the oscillators to work together with this line select. You can have one by itself, then this I think becomes a 16 oscillator synth, so a 16 note synth. You can have 2 by itself, same thing. 1 plus 2 goes back down to 8 notes, and then 1 plus 1, so it doubles up. You can then apply a ring modulator and you can apply noise to it. You've also got over here a handy little detune, and that in itself, if I just press it for a minute and we go back to the display, that in itself can dramatically vary the sounds. And as part of the demo I was mucking about with that. I'll just put this article out of the way. So just changing the octave, very different. And then you can have, if we go to 1 plus 1, so we've got just this oscillator 1 sounding now. If I take the octaves and make them 0 there, and then go to the fine and make that 0, the two things are entirely in sync. But if I just up the fine, say somewhere around 5 to 10, you get a little phase effect on it. So even though this synthesizer is a bit old to have built-in effects, you will see as we go through this course that there are little tricks of the trade where you can simulate effects. I particularly like, for example, if we move away from this particular preset, brass number 3